Look,
Right.
we recognize that we're the last panel of the day. We're the only thing between you and the bars of New Orleans. So, look, we're going to jump right into it. And I'm very happy to have my partner here, Carl Loredo, the president of Pizza Hut, with us. We've known each other for, 20 some odd years, have done some really fun things. And I think you're going to see an example of some of the work that Carl's been working on in the team and then what we've collectively come together in and around the Super Bowl. So, jumping right in, Mr. Loredo, this Sunday, over 13 million Americans are going to order pizza. When you start developing your marketing plans, what major factors go into deciding when, where, and how to show up?
Well, that seems like a lot, Mark. First of all, it's great to be here, back with Brand Innovators. I feel like I somehow snuck in the side door. I'm president now, and it's so amazing to be back talking about consumers, talking about media, talking about marketing, and just appreciate being back. Look, at the end of the day, yes, there are going to be a lot of pizzas sold. Hopefully, most of those are Pizza Hut pizzas. That's our goal as we work through Sunday. But, as we're contemplating the overall strategy, it's got to start with the consumer. And again, in a world of talking to marketers, you all know that. And each and every one of us are thinking about how to go grow our business, dealing with business struggles, a whole host of things that are going on in the marketplace today. And the reality is our consumers don't care about any of that. They want to be a part of things that matter to them. They do have fandom. Mike and the gang talked a lot about that, and there's things that matter to them. And so a big piece of it for us as we think about the overall engagement, and a part of why we're all in on sports, and in particular the game, is thinking about what's going on with consumers and lining that up, right? So starting with knowing who we are, what we're all about as a brand, and what we bring to the table. When folks get together to watch a game like the Super Bowl, they are pumped when Pizza Hut shows up. That's the part that we bring. And so as I think about all the different partnerships, ways that we can be a part of these events and iconic, places like the Super Bowl, whether it's sports and the tribalism that goes together, Mike talked about that, thinking about gaming, which matters a lot to our consumer base, music. So we're trying to find places to participate where our consumers are. Sports happens to be a massive piece of that. And the only thing that can make sitting around watching your Steelers, in my case, I'm married into a Cowboy family, so that's what I'm up to, and you know what that's like. But it can get better on a Sunday when the delivery person shows up and Pizza Hut comes around. So, those are the things that we're contemplating. And you talked about there's going to be a lot of pizza sold on Sunday. There's 190 million people that are ordering pizza in the QSR category every year. My job is to get most of those folks. Our job at Pizza Hut is to get most of those folks to buy them from us. But I think understanding the clarity of who are the people that are buying them today, how does that line up with what's going on in the world of folks watching this game, which is everyone, right. We know that, but all the other games that are going on as well, and making sure that we're finding ways to engage in that. That's great for the folks that we already know. Our average consumers are coming 9, 10 times a year. It's great. I'd like for them to come 12, 13, 14. But more importantly, for the folks that haven't bought us in a while, Super Bowl is actually a day where we see the most new users coming in again. So what's interesting about this strategy is absolutely about what happens on game day. And then it's also about using some of the tools that the team was talking about, leaning in on tech, finding ways to re-engage, and ultimately then making sure those are folks that are not only fans of the game, but fans of ours throughout the rest of the year. So those are a number of the ways that we're thinking about it, but it's all about starting with who the hell are you? Right. You got to know who you are as a brand. You got to find ways to engage in stuff that matters with consumers. And then ultimately, if we're showing up in a way that makes their experience better, that tribal nature of what's going on, everybody wins. Where we don't win as brands is we show up and we make a lot of noise in stuff that people don't feel like makes sense or doesn't go together. I think that's where things go sideways and what we need to be mindful of as marketers. Make sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay.
But I think we need to
I'm not as smart as Mike, but I'm doing my best.
None of us are. Nobody tells you that more than Mike. Let's dig a little bit deeper about that, though. It's the biggest marketing day of the year, right? All the major players are a part of it. Do you find that you get better results continuing an existing campaign, launching something completely new? Like, how do you enter the space where you've got so much money being spent, so much focus going on it, people thinking for months about this one piece of creative? You're in market 365. How do you approach the day?
Yeah, look, you got to be clear on your strategy and ultimately understanding what role these tools are going to play, right? Whether it be the creative or the media, and ultimately, what are you trying to accomplish? Look, I've been at Pizza Hut since the beginning of the summer, and there's a lot of work going on for us in terms of how we're engaging with consumers in a different way. So as we came in and started taking a look at past reels, again, clarity of understanding with this consumer, it all starts with, are we driving conversion at the point of purchase? Like, can we get a human to see what's going on and at that moment pick up a phone, pick up their app, and ultimately purchase? And, you got to figure out where you're at on that journey. Look, no doubt that it's a great time to break through. Ultimately, you got lots and lots of eyeballs, and there's massive competition. So those are some of the things that we have to think through. We've recently hired new advertising agencies, so Deutsche is in now, working on all of our strategy and linear side. Had a great partnership with VML in the world of digital, social. My previous life, some of you may know, we sort of made a name for ourselves in the world of social.
Just a little bit?
A little bit. And so great to have both of those partners coming together and really contemplating the journey that we're on. So we are absolutely thinking about a new campaign. Really excited about where we're headed with our new brand positioning, which is in this world of instigators of joy, and knowing that we make events and people coming together better. And for those types of moments, there has to be instigation. And we all know that person that shows at a party and all of a sudden things just change a little bit. And, you can all think back to time in college, time in high school, all those things. Like, that's ultimately what we're trying to think about and portray. And so we are working on a new campaign. In this case, we're excited about the work that we're going to show. It's ultimately about getting that story and beginning to have it unfold, leveraging some of the key folks that are going to be a part of the overall broadcast, so it feels like we're a part of everything that's going on that day. But ultimately, we're not all the way there for a new campaign. So in this case, we're excited about the work that we've got rolling, and we've got a few more months before we'll be out there with the full campaign. But maybe we'll take a look and see what folks think. Look, the creative's fun. It's going to be entertaining. Again, understanding where you sit in all this. Like, if folks haven't ordered pizza by the time the broadcast starts and the actual game's going on, we probably have lost. So that's a big part of why we partnered with Fox and in the pregame, because that's when folks need to be ordering our pizzas. And, in the case of the Ultimate Hut Bundle, like, going back to what matters to consumers during this particular game, it's all about folks coming together. So a couple of medium pizzas shows off the fact that we have some of the best wings in the business, and a lot that goes on with regard to sides for a great value. So there's the commercial aspect of this to make folks aware of what's going on. It's a new offer that literally came out this week, and we'll be, blowing our brains off telling the story as we get up to the game, but also, enjoying some of what's expected when it comes to Super Bowl with Gronk, and also the great partnership we have with Fox, knowing that he's going to be a big part of the storytelling that goes on throughout everything that's cooking on Sunday. So it's a great way to bring it all together.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit more about Gronk specifically, right? So we've been working together for a long time. And I think one of the great things about Fox is there are very few layers, right? So we're all kind of pulling the rope in the same direction. We have a tremendous relationship with our production side, with our talent side. So a lot of times we've been able to bring in our talent to marketers to kind of come up with creative ideas and do things that are fun and interesting. Since you've worked with a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places, like, Gronk breaks through because he's Gronk. But how do you kind of assess some of the talent roster that you see at all the other networks, and what makes somebody be part of now a national campaign?
Yeah, look, Mike was talking about, I think he said suites and spreadsheets. I've never heard that before. Look, the risk is we all have a fixed budget, right? At the end of the day, we do spend a lot of money on telling folks that we have amazing pizza. But we've also got to figure out ways to be the most effective, efficient, and making sure that we're winning at that point of conversion with the dollars that we spend. And so what I have found as I've grown in my career as a marketer is, if you're not careful and you partner with the wrong folks, you can spend all your money on the deal and never activate it in a way that actually shows up for consumers and becomes a big deal and ultimately talked about. I think what I have found, again, the reason that Mark and I are sitting here together, and I appreciate the work I've been able to do with Fox over the years, is finding the right way to build efficiency around that. Who is the talent that you've got going on? Let's talk about what you've got going on during the game that day. Help me with what some of your goals are. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we tend to make on our side is we're super focused on making sure we deliver those eyeballs and those pizzas on the day of the game. how many people have actually stopped to ask you, like, what are you trying to accomplish? My guess is the list is short. Is that fair?
It's very short.
And so as we begin to understand what matters more and more, I mean, we're talking about another league that matters a lot to Fox right now.
Yeah.
Like, why are we having that conversation? Because this has been a partnership for a long time. So why is Gronk here? Because as I began to have a conversation with the production team to say, who's going to be out there? Who could we leverage in our spot? How do we make this feel like something that's cohesive that goes on throughout the entire day versus us trying to break through in the midst of just 30 seconds? It makes a massive difference. So, those are some of the consistent things that we're looking for to try to ultimately get there, be there for the fan. We also happen to know that this guy resonates really well with folks that like Pizza Hut. That sort of helps. And he's kind of funny. So, it'll be interesting to see what kind of reactions are going to be out there. It's certainly a star-studded lineup. We've already started to see lots and lots of ads that are out there. But, at the end of the day, given what we need to accomplish for the day and at the moment, I'm pretty excited about what we've got going on here.
All right, let's get a little more tactical. Limited time offers.
Yes, sir.
So, do you see more success in getting consumers to try something new or to stick with kind of your overall brand ethos?
Yeah, look, these are all tools that we've got to think about. QSR consumers in particular are massively fickle. As I, think about all the trade that happens at the end of the day in terms of overall share of, folks coming to us, we have a fraction of the visits that happen across the entire universe that is U.S. humans heading to QSR to grab some food. And so we got to get attention. And, right now there's a massive value war that's going on. If you haven't noticed, you must be living under a rock. McDonald's is talking McValue back and forth. My former employer is all about the biggie bag. Domino's is offering a free pizza pretty much just if you wake up. I mean, that's what's going on right now. And so we got to find a way to break through and show that we provide great value. I'm hoping that some of you, as you think back to your experience with Pizza Hut, it puts a smile on your face because of a memory that's probably tied back to an innovative new product that you had, like stuffed crust, or the first time you had pan pizza or something like that after a Little League game or when you got together with some friends for a birthday party. And so that's what we've been known for since Dan Carney brought pizza to America literally in 1968. So the goal of our innovation is around reminding folks that we have the ability to put a smile on folks' faces because we are bringing joy to them as they try our food. So LTOs certainly play a role. They can break through. And on the flip side of that, like, we brought pan pizza to America. So if you can trigger that memory, then there's a way that you can get there as well. So it's got to be balanced. I definitely have seen folks, one of my sister brands at Yum is known very well for having a calendar of innovation that's probably 24 new items per year at Taco Bell. But we ultimately have to kind of think about the balance of both of those things. And we are for the everyday and ultimately have some fun innovation that's right around the corner as well, Mark. So I'm sure we'll be showing you about that on a Fox station coming soon.
Yes, you will. Well, you got to order that deal first.
Love it.
All right, we're close.
Yep.
Another piece of innovation, you're seeing it integrated into sporting events, and you're certainly seeing it in a lot of commercial creative now, but QR codes.
Yeah.
Right? How often do you
How the hell did QR codes come back? Can we just talk about that for a minute?
Seriously.
They were dead.
Completely
And then
dead.
COVID. It was fascinating.
But do you see success trying to integrate it? Do you do it more in seminal events like a Super Bowl, or do you do it more day in and day out to kind of get that type of, like you're saying, people that are going to be doing it multiple times? How does it play into the strategy?
Look, I think it comes back to consumer again. Like, my job is win at the point of conversion and driving that number up every time. And look, like I talked about, there's a lot of different folks that are out there trying to get you to say yes right at the moment. Mm-hmm. And so, if you have any kind of push notifications turned on your phone, you're getting the Taco Bell ding, McDonald's is probably hitting you about 11 o'clock. We're showing up at 11:30, probably again at 5 o'clock, but all of us are trying to engage with you in some way, shape, or form. So that's indicative of what we're all trying to do, right? How do we get into the mindset, get that point of conversion at the right time that makes sense? And how do you simplify that? Like, what's really cool about the business I'm in today versus the world of hamburgers that I was in before is that, the vast majority of the business at a McDonald's, at a Wendy's, at any of those is coming through the drive-thru, and it's folks in their car, and it's, trying to win at lunch. The reality is that we have a massively unique point of difference in the world of pizza It has admittedly changed a bit since COVID, because if you think back to 2020, if you wanted food delivered to your house, it was either pizza or Chinese food, right? I mean, it's amazing if you think about that. And there's been a seismic shift in strategy now, given that Uber Eats, DoorDash, a whole host of other people will bring it to you. But you are going to get better, hotter food if Pizza Hut drops it off at your doorstep. I can guarantee it. So part of what we're trying to figure out is what are ways at that point of conversion when someone is triggered by an ad to say, all right, let me click in right now and do it. So a QR code can play that role. We've also found ways through a variety of other technologies where it's like, how do you order that offer right now if you happen to have that on your phone? And I think there'll be a number of technologies that ultimately get us there as we tend to, as we partner together and think about that over the next few years.
Well, I'm told we only have a few more minutes.
Okay.
But I am excited to show some of the work that we collaborated on and are going to debut during the hour you own during our pregame show Sunday. But we know a marketer like Pizza Hut is approached by every major media corporation, right? We like to think that we're easy to work with and that we can figure things out. But how do you differentiate with everybody coming at you, who you decide to partner with and go deep?
Yeah, look, it is about partnership. And I think it's about shared priorities and understanding that we can work together. I have made the mistake in my career of peanut buttering investment across a whole host of folks. And what I've learned is I've grown in my career and ultimately seen the results, real results. The clarity of purpose and working with folks that truly do want to be partners matters a lot. And there have been times that I've called Mark and said, hey, I need some help because we're a little soft. Let's talk about where we can engage. You've called me and said, hey, we got this new league coming, and there's going to be a lot of people hanging out in Dallas for practice every single day for 3 months. Maybe they should be eating some pizzas, and we ought to be talking about it. Okay, let's go figure that out. But ultimately, it comes back to then when we're actually engaging, it's not just about how much money I can get. Value comes in a lot of form. I get a ton of value out of the partnership that we've had with Fox over all these years, and it's because we've done great work together. It's led to amazing things. You came to me at one point when you were trying to get into the college football game in a massive way on a Saturday and said, you willing to take a flyer on something that we think can be really big? And I tend to say yes to stuff like that. Our team tends to lean in on things like that. And I can't say it because it's going to be on broadcast. Holy shit. That turned out amazing. And so if you think about what you guys have been able to put together with Big Noon, that was a massive risk for you. And it was a massive risk for everybody that jumped in at the moment. And now you're kicking game day's ass. So as you think about some of those different places, that's what matters to me. And it's ultimately knowing that you got my back, I've got your back. Ultimately, if we do this work together, when it shows up on Sunday, because of the creative we bring forth, it's going to look awesome. You're going to give us a call and say, hey, we've got some talent. How about we do a promo spot together? What might that look like? And are you willing to lean in a little bit? Because I think we can make this a whole lot more fun. That's not the case with a lot of folks. It is about suites and spreadsheets. And that's absolutely the wrong way to go do it. So that's why I do work with you guys. I feel like you guys should I just did an ad for you.
You're hired.
Anyway, but I think whether it's, with the guys at Fox or otherwise, find somebody you can lean in with, folks that you enjoy working with, have a little fun along the way, but more importantly, where are you getting the results from? And that's what we've seen again and again and again. And so that's why we're here with you. All right, let's take a look.
Great stuff.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you. I see your question.
Everybody's we're going to Pato's. I don't know what you guys are doing.
I'm curious how you look at an ad like that, and I'm sure drives conversion. You guys can see the lift immediately versus product placement, a straight ahead Crocker backstage, just eating Pizza Hut, and it just more genuine that way.
Yeah.
Maybe a Super Bowl, how do you look at? Do you stay away more with the brand awareness play, go all conversions, or how do you think?
Yeah, look, that's coming. Why do you think I'm hanging out with Mark for the whole weekend? I'm going to show up with some pizzas at the desk, and we're going to make sure we eat a bunch of them. Look, I think, again, going back to being authentic and finding interesting ways, I'm looking around at some of the Fox production team. We've had some awesome ad hoc stuff that's just happened because we're willing to go try some things again. Thinking back to some of my old days and early on as we were thinking about Saturdays. So it's both. And I think you got to find the right way to, like, all these tools have a different role. And so, yes, like, when it comes time to run a 30, we got to make sure that the commercial side of what this is, nobody knows what an Ultimate Hut Bundle is or how much it costs. That's got to deliver well when they get to the app. On the flip side, like, folks sitting around eating some pizza is going to lead to the craveability that we all know will hopefully come to the other side too. So I think it's about a balance of both of those things. Smarter people override. Questions for them?
Yeah.
Others?
Carl, how is AI informing some of your decision making when it comes to how you're allocating media dollars?
I don't know if you all heard the question, but there's this thing, it's like AI. Has anybody heard of it? Look, we just had a massive announcement, during earnings today, of Bite by Yum. And, Yum's our parent company, owns us, Taco Bell, KFC, and Habit Hamburger. And it is the way of the future, AI. And the reality for us at Pizza Hut in particular, get back to the real world of modern marketing, 75% of the humans that order a Pizza Hut actually use the app, come to the web, and we ultimately know who they are, like down to their address, their phone number, all of those things. So if you just say, all right, the challenge at hand is for those folks that are heavy and frequent users, let's just make sure to engage with them to come a couple more times a year. Like, we know exactly who those people are and how to go have that engagement. I think on the flip side of that, understanding who are the folks that aren't coming and how do we go engage in a different way. A great example, we just leveraged AI to take a look at lapsed users, folks we hadn't seen in a year. That's historically, as folks churn, that's usually a bad thing for us. We're able to use a million different combinations of creative, offer, time of day, ways that we push, different engagement to those folks, turned it into an 8% transaction lift and 11% growth for people that we hadn't seen in a year. So again, those are some of the key tools that are going to be necessary. And clearly, in the world of pizza, we got a massive database and a very crisp understanding of our consumer. But I think everything in between is going to be available to us as we leverage AI. So as marketers, we got to force ourselves, use it every day. Agencies got to be using it. Media teams need to be thinking about it. If you're not, you're going to be passed over pretty quick.
Question for Robert. I'm curious, league like the NFL, from a rights partner standpoint, when you look at Mahomes and the Cowboys versus investing in younger stars like Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, from a marketing standpoint, do you focus more on playing the hits while you have the rights, or do you a little bit of both? How do you look at it?
Yeah, go Mike.
This is Mike's sweet spot.
Yeah, so
Smartest guy in the room.
our team works with the NFL on putting together the schedule, and then once we have the schedule, we have to do a map every week and assign a game to every market in the country, right? So we think a lot about emerging brands versus longtime popular brands. I think what we've come to believe is that we would rather be a year too late than try to be a year early and catching a team on the rise. Like, what happens is when the networks try to guess at which team is going to break through next season, they're generally wrong. So that was Cleveland a couple years ago. That was the Jets this year. It's possible that the Commanders are going to be a little bit overvalued by the market next year. Don't get me
Careful
wrong.
who you're standing next to.
Even if they're 13-4 and they win the division, and they could do that, right? It just takes time for the audience to catch up to that. The audience is always a little bit behind the reality on the field. I'll tell you what I thought was an interesting piece of research that we did. We talked to NFL fans. We gave them a list of players. We said, can you identify what position this player plays and what team they play for? These were people that watch the NFL regularly. There were 3 players in the entire league that more than 50% of fans could correctly identify by position and by team. So when you're talking about a breakthrough team and a breakthrough player like Daniels, it just takes a long time for the audience to really catch up to that. So we tend to play the hits. We're gonna go with like the brands that have had a following for a long time.
And how many of them could identify Taylor Swift?
Yeah, exactly. We got
I'm
to
sorry.
find it out. We have something in the office. Again, Mike says it very articulately. We say it pretty rudimentarily, but we have something called the donut test. So, like, our guys often we'll do a promo for baseball or football, and then see a guy. I'm like, who's that? Like, well, this is a Omar Vizquel Jr., he's an up-and-coming second baseman. His WAR is 600. I'm like, he doesn't pass the donut test. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, if he walked in my office now and gave me a donut, I don't know who the fuck he is. So don't put him in the promo. Only the guys who pass the donut test. Love it.
You kind of alluded to it earlier. Sports moving towards streaming. And in New Orleans, native food, culture, music brings all bodies together. There's no barriers. I believe sports is another one of those that brings all people together. Touch on that a little bit deeper. How does Fox continue to be the network while you have these streaming services that are kind of nipping and trying to take lion's share away?
Well, there are a couple ways, right? Like, one is that we rely on Carl and people like him to continue to be in partnership with us and allow us to run an entirely ad-supported business rather than a subscription-driven business. That's probably the most important way. And then how else are we keeping sports accessible? It's by keeping things on broadcast platforms as much as we can. I'm a believer that streaming has been transformational when it comes to entertainment content, right? They've truly built a better mousetrap, and we now have to kind of scramble to figure out a new way to define our broadcast entertainment business. But in sports, all the streamers can really do is present sports in basically the same way that we present it on free TV. So the experience isn't any different. The experience isn't any better. You're just moving from a platform that's available in 115 million homes to a platform that's available in 40 or 50 million homes, which is why every time a game goes from free broadcast to subscription-driven streaming, they do basically the same number of younger viewers who are obviously comfortable with that streaming environment, and they lose a ton of older viewers. And so you sacrifice a lot of reach. You're losing people generally who are over 50, but those are people that have the most disposable income, right? So there's some real value there. So we think that every time something moves from broadcast to cable exclusive or streaming exclusive, you're sacrificing audience, you're sacrificing reach. We want to be on the biggest platforms possible. We want to be ad supported. We want to keep that freely accessible. And we think that's the way we're going to develop the next generation of fans.
I did kind of applaud you after the Tyson fight, just froze up on that.
Yeah. We would never, ever root for it. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Please.
I was going to say, what ways are you looking to innovate the broadcast moving forward? For example, just using NBA as an example, how they had the Disney broadcast, or how other people chime in and you can see it through their lens. Are there ways like that you're looking to innovate moving into the future?
Yeah, in our case, it's probably not going to be secondary presentations, right? We're not going to do a Manning cast or a Nickelodeon broadcast because our company has just changed so much that we don't have the assets that would make that make sense, right? Like, we're never going to do a Fox News presentation of the NFL. I don't think that would really be in anybody's best interest, right? So what we're more focused on is how do we elevate the core presentation that's on that broadcast network, which just means better graphic presentation, better use of statistics, smarter use of statistics, best broadcasters that we can get, whether that's trying to bring in the greatest to ever play the game and Tom Brady, or just bringing in other talent that have a level of expertise that hopefully nobody else can match. And then trying to pair up what we do on the broadcast side with a companion experience that Mel's team can provide, so that you're getting your core engagement from the TV screen, but you can also have a deeper level of engagement with your mobile screen if you want that.
Yeah, just add, I think we have the core linear experience, which is how huge numbers of people watch things together. But I think there's a lot of individuals who don't engage necessarily outside of the game in a pure linear experience, but they still want to hear the takes from our talent. They want to hear the analysis, all the around, shoulder programments around how to think about the matchup, how to reflect on the last matchup. And we feel like we can reach those people outside of a core linear experience by using our platforms to kind of cut together. Again, it's the same underlying content. We're making an investment in broadcast and bringing in that talent. How can we repackage that content and meet people where they are, which might be shorter form, might be a mobile first, and those are all just ways to kind of leverage our existing investment in that kind of content creation.
On that note, we're done.